Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily, presented by Amazon Prime for January 14th, 2026. I'm Dave DuFour here with Es Baraheni. Coming up, the Bucks got smoked by the Timberwolves. This might be it for Giannis. I don't know. It's really bad, guys. The Nuggets pick up another win, and the Thunder finally beat the Spurs. So we talked to Andrew Schlecht about that after the game. Good morning, everybody. What's going on, Es?
Good morning, Dave. How you doing?
Not too bad. Pretty big game last night, Thunder Spurs. How about that? I mean, listen, man, I was saying
the Empire Strikes Back if you get the title,
right.
by the way.
Yeah. I was saying in our group chat, I was like, oh no, this game after that opening dunk by Wemby on Chet, I was like, this is going to be the game that officially breaks the Thunder. Obviously that didn't happen.
That did not happen. No, they were resilient. A resilient bunch of champions, you know.
Yeah.
They figured
Great
it out.
game though.
Great
game. Like we have gotten four really, and even the blowout, like, you know, feeling of the last two, still great games.
Need a playoff game between these two. There's obviously a little bit of edge to both of these teams.
Yeah, I won't say I want a 7-game series. I just want a series. Just give me a series.
Yeah.
I'll take 5 games as long as they're good like this. But after the break, we have Andrew Schlecht to talk about it because he was there to witness it. And I mean, again, just ridiculous game.
Yeah.
But we've got to talk about the Bucks. The Bucks are just down pretty bad right now. They drop a game last night to the Timberwolves, 139-106. Now, okay, the Wolves, we've talked about them. They've been the best team in basketball record-wise since Thanksgiving, right? Like, that's no big deal, except Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert were both out. This needed to be a win for the Bucks. It was a home game, and they got embarrassed. I mean, this is just the worst loss of the season for them.
Yeah, you could tell there was frustration from Giannis' side, too. There was a moment in the game where, he goes, attacks the basket, gets an and one, and starts booing to the fans. And I think that was because the fans were booing first, just because of how badly the Bucks were getting beat. So frustration boiling over in Milwaukee and Giannis. It feels like we're headed towards an inevitable breakup, but it's one of those slow breakups where neither side wants to end things and it's getting ugly and you're walking across the hall with each other and nobody's talking to each other. It's ugly. It's a bad breakup.
Well, it's hard to come back from if you trade him away, right? It's hard to come back from trading away one of the greatest players of his generation. You know, like Nico Harrison, who obviously lost his job. No, way worse trade for sure than whatever the Bucks are going to do. But it's tough. I mean, this guy's been the franchise, and not just that, but like he's also been the type of guy that I think the Bucks have been happy to have as the face of the franchise. Like he's been a great citizen of Milwaukee. He
literally fuels the economy of Milwaukee. Also, that's part of what is a topic of conversation here. It's like whoever you end up trading for has to be able to get butts and seats. And so, from Milwaukee's perspective, it's tough. I still err on the side that they won't trade him before the deadline because it's so hard to trade a player like that in the middle of the season. But I don't know. How do you feel about that?
It makes more sense to wait till the summer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I really did think, okay, this wasn't going to happen. But at this point, anything can happen. These bad losses, they stack up, and there's just a point where I think a guy like Giannis wants to compete. This team is not competitive. And the other thing I'll say is this. I am shocked that we don't hear more criticism of Doc Rivers when the Bucks lose games like this. It just is weird that, like, if the Orlando Magic drops a game, it's like, Jamal Mosley, man, what are you doing? And then, for some reason, Doc just gets a pass. And I just think that this team is underachieving, even given some of the health stuff that they've dealt with this year. It is underachieved in a weak Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they've had some good wins here over the last little bit, but how can I talk about a win over the Hornets and Sacramento and one win over the Lakers as like the way to go forward with this Bucks team? I don't see how there's this through line of we are going to be competitive when you're 1.5 games behind the Chicago Bulls for the 10 seed in the Eastern Conference. You talk about competitive. How about just getting into the play-in? Like, that's where they're at right now. It's tough.
Yeah, and then look, on the other side for the Wolves, you're down, two most important players. I mean, Rudy obviously is the anchor of that defense, and Anthony Edwards is their best player. and you come out and you make a statement. You know, we've been talking about the Nuggets, and we're going to talk about this win that they picked up last night. But to win shorthanded is a big deal, especially in the West, showing some depth. The guys that they're bringing off the bench, I mean, Bones Highland, 23 points off the bench in this game. Johan Behringer, 13 points in this game, was plus 30. Behringer, excuse me, not Behringer.
Behringer is 30, the guy from Idaho.
Sitting here reading, Behringer. But plus 30 off the bench, where this team needs to find a defensive identity for when Rudy is not available. So I think that this was like a growth win for the Wolves, who have already been really good.
Yeah. What have I said about January, man? I really do think when teams are taking advantage of December, January, and then a little bit of February, those are the teams that end up lasting. And you see the Wolves doing that exactly. I think the fact that they are very, very good offensively, defense is obviously there, and then being able to grind out these wins like that, you've established an identity for yourself that can kind of go by its own, even when you don't necessarily have everything tonight.
Yeah. Let's move to the Nuggets, because they pick up another win. They moved to 5-3 without Nikola Jokic. Again, they're still shorthanded. No Jokic, no Cam Johnson, no Jonas Valanciunas. But, man, they have some found money. Between Jamal Murray having this all-star, maybe all-NBA level season, and the rise of Peyton Watson into what I think should be maybe the pole position for most improved player. I mean, we're going to be splitting hairs over this particular award, I think, in a couple months. But, man, what Jamal Murray has done to lead this team with Jokic out, I don't think we can overlook this. He had 35 points, 9 assists, 3 steals. I mean, their offense is worse without Jokic, but their defense has actually stepped up just a little bit, and it has made up for the fact that they don't have the greatest player on the court. I think that this team, again, you watch them win these sorts of games, and you see exactly where this translates to April and May and June.
I'm looking at Peyton Watson, and I'm genuinely just flabbergasted. Like, I did not see. He is creating off of the bounce. He is creating his own shots, dribbling into multiple, like whether it's like a crossover to get his man off of like his foot. There are so many opportunities where I see him actually create his own shot. And that is a stark contrast from what he was last season, where a lot of his opportunities were catch and shoot threes, diving to the basket, dunker spot stuff. He is pretty proficient off of the bounce. Tonight he had 31 points and he only made 1 3. Yeah. Most of that is just him attacking the basket, working as a roller, doing a lot of like finishing around the rim with craft, which is rare for a guy who, I don't know if he necessarily had this level of touch before this season. He's averaging 22 points since Jokic has gotten hurt. Yeah. He should be. He's been in the most starting improved lineup conversation. Yeah,
he started. Christian Brown's out in the game last night, so he's in the starting lineup again. I mean, I'm starting to wonder who's the starter when Christian Brown comes back and this team gets to full strength. Yeah. Because, I mean, Peyton Watson does add, there's the length dynamic. Like you mentioned, this off the dribble stuff that we're now getting a peek at. Worst case scenario, he's a great guy to bring off the bench. Like, this is not a bad problem to have. Yeah. But I do wonder, what's their best 5-man lineup going to be when this team is fully healthy? And I wouldn't be shocked if Peyton Watson is in that 5-man lineup.
They can go bigger now, right?
Yeah.
When he's on the floor. And I think that gives them so much optionality. You think of the Western Conference teams that they might end up facing, right? We just talked about the Timberwolves, who are a really big team. Rockets are a big team. Thunder and Spurs, obviously both teams that can go really big as well. You have to be able to match that. And when you have Peyton Watson, who is also a very good, weak side rim protector, can block shots, be this kind of sweeper in the back end for them. That is what he can do on the defensive end. All of this stuff that he provides off of the bounce is just icing on the cake developmentally. So, yeah, if he can do this, then now you can play bigger and still have that offensive advantage and be better defensively.
Yeah. All right, guys, stick around after the break. We got Andrew Schlecht to talk about the Thunder's big win over the Spurs and whether this is a rivalry yet or not. Thunder Spurs, game 4 of the regular season. And finally, the Thunder get a win. Here to talk about it, Andrew Schlecht. I know the pressure was on for these guys. They were down 3-0 in the season series. Needless to say, they responded. 119-98, a blowout, dominant win. That third quarter, Andrew, really sealed the deal. And that's the sort of thing that we hadn't seen out of the Thunder against the Spurs yet this season.
Yeah, the Thunder finally looked like the Thunder, and it's not just against San Antonio. The Thunder haven't looked like the Thunder in like 3 weeks. And really, this was the game where they finally looked like the Thunder again, especially in that third quarter. I think their defense was just ratcheted up like 3 or 4 notches in the third. Shai was unbelievable. In the third quarter alone, he had 15, 2, and 3. J-Dub started off just like getting to the hoop really whenever he wanted. At the beginning of that third, he had 10 points in the third quarter, and the Thunder just kind of slammed the door shut on the Spurs. But it really all started on the defensive end. I talked to a bunch of guys in the locker room after the game just about like the approach, because it's funny. You go and you look at the shot chart from Christmas Day, and you look at the one from tonight, and you think, oh, it must have been vastly different. Right. It really wasn't all that different. The Thunder took basically just as many shots in the restricted area on Christmas Day as they did tonight. It's really about them. They just made those shots tonight. And a lot of it was that they defended so much better tonight. It kept the Thunder out of the half court. It kept the Spurs in rotation. And it really helped the Thunder just be able to look like themselves and to score with ease.
So I think the conversation heading into this game, and basically every Spurs Thunder game for the rest of eternity, will be Chet versus Wemby. And in the first half, it was the Wemby show. The way that they were dominating. I mean, the first play of the game was him dunking.
I need a high quality image of that play, Andrew.
Incredible.
Wemby's dunking stuff that we've never seen guys dunk before, by the way. As a quick aside, I don't want to derail the conversation here, but to start the game that way over another guy who's 7-1, Andrew, like you had to have felt like, oh no, are they about to get crushed because of the way the game started, you know?
It looked like me versus my 7-year-old on the mini hoop, you know?
You get dunked on like that?
That's just on your head. Oh, come on. All right. It's like sometimes you're just much taller, and being much taller helps a lot in the NBA. I did think it was interesting. I think the Thunder's approach with Wemby, obviously you don't want to just get dunked on like that over and over again.
Yeah.
However, I do think there are a lot of moments where the Thunder, especially when it's like you have Kenrich Williams defending Wemby, you've got J-Dub defending him. They're really okay with Wemby looking at that and saying, hey, time to go one-on-one. They're perfectly okay with that because for the most part, it didn't really work out for Wemby. He was a -13 in this game tonight. He missed a lot of these shots against guys when he's going one-on-one. Like when you make it like this one-on-one, me versus this other guy who is a foot shorter than me.
Right.
Like it's almost like you're baiting him into like these mid-range jumpers that are really hard shots. Like even though
that contested long 2 over Chet made no sense.
Yeah. He's taking really tough shots and the Thunder are like, yes, please continue to take those.
It also felt like they've been really, really open about their egalitarian offense, right? You don't know where anything is coming from. That's how unpredictable we like to be offensively. But they felt a little selfish, to your point tonight, on the offensive end with the one-on-one that they were running. It mostly felt like it was just, hey, we're going to try to beat our defender and get an advantage. But those advantages, I mean, the Thunder dominated in the paint tonight. Part of that was them being able to get going offensively, but it was also walling off the paint from the Spurs side too.
Yeah, I thought defensively, it just felt like they had a lot more juice tonight. Yeah. It was really just, and it's about defending Wemby, certainly, because like that's where everything begins with San Antonio. But it's also about like playing really tough with De'Aaron Fox, who was, by the way, the best player on the floor on this floor on Christmas Day. He was the best player, not even close to that tonight. Steph Castle was awesome again tonight, and really cool seeing him and Shai get into it. and then seeing Shai fire expletives at him as he's running down the court after he makes a three.
I was actually going to say that. When was the last time
Can you
you've seen
quote him,
Shai?
Andrew?
Can I quote him?
Could you
listen? This is a children's show, Dave.
That's right.
You think I'm going to quote
That's
that?
right,
I'm not
it
doing
is.
that.
Andrew, when was the last time you've seen Shai go at someone like that? Because I feel like he's usually pretty calm, usually pretty tame. After the game, in the post-game press conference, he mentioned, he's like, hey, this is not our Super Bowl. Feels like that's leaning in on the whole rivalry aspect, right?
Yeah, it's like almost like shots fired. Like, oh, this is just another game for us, guys.
Yeah,
no big deal.
1 of 82.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, 1 of 82. It's 0-0 tomorrow, baby. I don't know the last time that I've seen Shai. Like, I can think of times back when they were like still in kind of the rebuild, where you see Shai kind of get emotional after making shots. Like he hit a really big shot against the Lakers in LA when they were like still going through the rebuild, and he's screaming, I am him, after making a shot. But for the most part, you don't see a lot of that from him, especially during the, like, can you recall anything from the last playoff run where Shai is like, like screaming at guys? Like, he's like all business. Even like they're losing to Denver, fans are screaming at him. What's he doing? He's smiling,
right?
You know? And so like it was a different side of Shai, which frankly is very fun. Like it makes like this matchup is like super entertaining. I hope we get a playoff series just because
we have to.
Like,
we have to.
I mean, you got the double tech down here with Shai and Steph. Yeah. I mean, it was a blast.
4 blocks for Shai tonight too.
That's
by
right.
the way,
One of them on Wemby.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
And he skied for it.
Yeah,
I mean that was unreal. Yeah. You could tell Shai was in this one.
I'm glad you mentioned J. Will off the bench. He had a double off the bench. Excellent defense. I thought he was the player of the game, non-Shai edition, but I thought he was the most important player outside of Shai in the game. The way he guarded Wemby, the way he stretches the floor, and you know, it got me thinking a little bit about this matchup because so much focus was on Wemby versus Chet.
Yep.
And I don't really think that's the matchup that the Thunder want to get into. Mm-hmm. I think that the J-Dub, Kenrich Williams types guarding Wemby is probably the move. I wonder, like, when we go to maybe the next game or we get into a playoff series, you see a scenario where Chet actually is not starting and like they are just rotating through and playing these bigger guys? No chance.
No, I don't think they don't start him, but I do think that they like to give him lots of different looks. You know, they're going to give everybody a chance. But I do think like J. Will in particular, he didn't play in those other matchups. AJ Mitchell didn't play in those previous matchups. And you hate to like use that as like, hey, you know what? Those guys weren't there. And so it does make the matchup different. Like the rhythm that J. Will plays with as an offensive and defensive player is different than any backup big that the Thunder have. Like he's really helpful. He had 5 assists tonight. He had 10 boards. Like the guy is taking guys off the dribble some. He can space the floor with his 3-ball. Like he's super helpful, and he's like very, very physical. I thought he was awesome around the rim. And if you have followed him at all since like his college days and through the draft and everything, he's a completely different player. I mean, the guy is like a true developmental story. He was not somebody that was pegged as this. Like he basically could take a charge. And
the charges, I remember that.
That was like
draft.
that was his thing, and that was about it. They weren't doing a whole lot more than that. But he's become like a legitimate, like really, really good bench player for the Thunder, and having him back has changed things quite a bit. You know, we saw Randall kind of get into Wemby some, and the Thunder did that on Christmas Day too. But we just saw more of it, and having a guy like J. Will that can do that as well is just. You know, it's super helpful.
I think it's worth noting for both sides, guys were missing. So Devin Vassell for the Spurs wasn't playing. And then for the Thunder, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no Lou Dort. And so that changes the complexion, to your point, of how this matchup looks. I will also say this felt like, and Dave and I were talking about this before, but this felt like the best J-Dub game I've seen in a little bit. Again, in that second half, when they were forcing turnovers and he got out to get out and running, like he propelled their transition game in such a major way. Hopefully this is the start of a good season for J-Dub as he finishes this year out.
Yeah, I mean, he was fearlessly attacking the rim.
Yeah.
And I think that J-Dub included, J-Dub, Shai, AJ Mitchell, all attacked the rim, whether Wemby was in there or not, with more ferocity than they did on Christmas Day. Like there was no questioning whether that's where they should be or not. Some of that was that the Spurs defense wasn't set every single time they did it, but some of it too was it just felt like there was a mentality shift that happened tonight. And I don't know, like you go watch other teams, like you go watch Utah play against San Antonio. You go watch the way that Minnesota played against San Antonio the other night. Like they're not afraid. Are you going to get blocked sometimes? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going to miss shots? Sure. But the Thunder were amazing in the paint tonight. Like
plus 16 in the paint.
They were 18 of 21 in the restricted area, 85% at the rim tonight. And a lot of that was like just this relentlessness. And it starts with Dub, who basically had 20 points all in the paint tonight. He didn't attempt a three, but the guy was just like relentlessly attacking, had half of those points in the third quarter. It's good to see him. He's not back to where he was because he's a guy that should attempt 5 to 7 threes a game.
Yeah.
And like have that. There's a more dynamic player in there. That's just
the jumper's not falling, but he's so good at getting downhill. And like you said, he puts so much pressure on the rim. So until that jumper fall, this is like the opposite of what Ja had going on, where the jumper wasn't falling, but he also couldn't finish. J-Dub's finishing looks great now.
Yeah.
It was shaky the first couple of weeks, but now he looks pretty good.
Andrew, I want to ask you one more thing. So OKC is now halfway through the season, 41 games. They finally got the win over the San Antonio Spurs. If you'll remember a couple of years ago, Sam Presti said the sky falls on NBA teams twice a year, right?
Yep.
It felt like the sky was falling for the Oklahoma City Thunder over the last month.
Yep.
How do they approach the second half of the season so that the sky doesn't fall again?
One, make threes would be helpful because that was a huge reason why the sky was falling.
Yeah.
And then also just like bring this same level of defensive intensity. Some of it was controllable. I think like the three ball is not always a controllable variable for teams.
Yeah.
But the Thunder haven't relied on that. You watch them in the NBA Finals, watch them against Denver. Like it wasn't the three ball that won them those series. It almost cost them both those series, in fact.
Right.
But it was like the margin for error was so big because of the defense, and that had slipped to a degree. That was back tonight. I think to me, the biggest thing, and some of it, like they're going to play some really good teams. They got Houston coming up. They have a lot of nationally televised games the rest of the season.
Hopefully with Jokic would be great.
Do they get to play Denver? Is that a thing? They played Denver several times. So I think it's going to be good for them. But it's really defense. And then if they could just make a reasonable amount of threes, I think that they'll be back on track.
Honestly, that's part of the problem for the Spurs too, right? Like they kind of have a similar thing. The bottom falls out when they can't hit shots. Yep. I hope we get this playoff series. I mean, it just feels like we're destined for it. We'll get it at some point, but selfish. I want it this year.
See which team can do the slow clap better.
All right, guys, the Thunder are back. Are we taking them over the field now? I don't know. We got to see what happens when they play the Nuggets. Thanks to Andrew for staying up late and hanging out with us. Thanks to Es Baraheni, as always. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.